G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists do what they do.
Well, hi folks, and welcome back to Colour in Your Life in New Zealand. Well, we are in Wanganui in the south of the North Island, beautiful, beautiful place. And we are in the Fine Arts Wanganui Gallery. That was always a mouthful when I started. And we're going to be working with a young lady today who really is a fantastic wildlife artist. She's been very influenced by some of the people that have actually influenced me over the years, a gentleman called Ray Ching, Robert Bateman, and she paints some really, really beautiful oil pieces on board. But I would like to introduce you to Marie Grice. Welcome to the show, Marie.
Thank you very much, Graham.
Fantastic for being here. As I said, Marie paints some really, really extraordinary wildlife pieces, and you're going to see that as we go through the day today. She's going to be working on a painting of a sheep, and you actually own a sheep farm, don't you?
Yeah, a small farm.
Beautiful place. I mean, surrounded by animals your whole life, basically. But you had an unfortunate incident that happened to you in 2004, which really sort of turned out to be a good thing for you in the end. It was an unfortunate accident. Marie actually got hit by a car while she was standing on the side of the road at her property, which was a disaster. But what came out of that really unfortunate incident is that you found the love of art and began to paint. I mean, tell me about the transition and what was going through your mind while you're in hospital.
Well, I needed something to do. I was bored. I was hospitalised for 9 weeks, and of course I had to find something to do, so I started drawing from my bedside, and it really went from there.
Yeah, and then obviously Ray Ching is a New Zealand artist.
Yes.
I mean, and as I was saying to you when I first saw your work and I spoke to you on the phone, I said, "Are you a fan of Raymond Ching's?"
Yes,
and you've
very
gone,
much.
"Yes," and I said, "My God, so am I." You know, from a long time back. I mean, Ray's one of the great master artists of the world. But when you see Marie's work as we go through today, I mean, a really, really talented woman that really captures the essence and the character of the animals that she works on. And as we go through today, we'll talk more about Wanganui and the huge arts community that they have here, and obviously Marie's career and what she has done as well to get her to this place. But a very, very talented woman, a delightful human being as well. Let's start, and we'll start on the first one, which is a portrait of a sheep. But the way that Marie puts these together is quite spectacular, and you will really enjoy today. So come along.
Alright, so what I'm doing, I'm starting with my lights, and I've got titanium white, yellow ochre and transparent oxide, and a bit of light red, ultramarine blue, raw umber, Van Dyke brown and a bit of black.
So you were telling me before, Marie, that a lady who is in the Wanganui area, who's very well known as herself, Julie Greig, had helped you out many years ago when you first started your career.
Yes, I'd always been admired by Julie's work and decided to go and see if she'd do lessons, and lucky for me she did. So yeah, we started doing some lessons, and animals, I suppose, have always been my passion. Okay, I'm mixing my colours, and just to try and check whether the colours are right. They obviously need a bit of tweaking, but you can get the general idea of what colours you're needing. Okay, so I would start with just marking out my darkest darks. And I'm not being too fussy when I'm doing this, I'm just simply lying it down, just putting it in place really, because I can move it around later.
So do you often wander around your property with said camera, looking for opportunist moments to sort of get a great cameo shot of one of the local animals?
Very much so, yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and we've usually got pets of some sort there that are usually fairly obliging to have their photos taken as long as they get a reward.
But you can see by looking at your work that you've obviously referenced real animals and you've spent the time to get up close. You can see all of the fine detail in the reference that you've used, and you see people paint cows or chickens or animals, birds, and they haven't studied them properly, but you've obviously sat down and done that.
I think working as a vet nurse for many years has definitely helped with that. You learn where bone structure is and where the fur lies, and that definitely all helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm just doing is just finding quite extreme colours to start with, because that's just what's underneath the fur. And just putting them in place, really.
If you're on masonite, how many layers of gesso did you put down and then sand back to get that effect?
So I've used about 4 layers, and I sand in between. It's actually an oil primer. And I sand back each time because I want to get as smooth a texture as possible. I don't like using canvas because I get too much of a weave, and that distracts from the detail that I'm trying to paint.
So why initially did you pick the realist style? I mean, was it just simply seeing what Ray Ching was doing? Was that the main influence?
I like detail. I like having to keep working at something, and each layer you put on, you get more and more, it comes to life more and more, and that's the bit that I get my rewards from, is when it starts to get that 3D look and starts to take on its own self. So as you can see, the colours don't actually make sense at this stage. It's just simply getting the underpainting on.
And we're actually in the Fine Arts Wanganui Gallery today, which is a fantastic space. All of the artists within the Wanganui area, and there are a lot of them, it's probably got one of the biggest arts communities in New Zealand, really have rallied together to open up this fantastic spot so people can come down and see all of the works of the people in the area, obviously Marie included. But it's sort of like a one-stop shop, really. You've got an art store on one side, and you've got a frame shop directly behind us, and then we're standing in the gallery now.
Absolutely.
So you really don't have to go anywhere to be able to get everything you need.
No, it's a very good location.
Yeah. Then looking at some of the pieces that you've got the Kingfisher on the beach, which is a sacred kingfisher, and it's an immature kingfisher as well, but the colours in that and the depth of field that you've got in that piece is just quite remarkable. And then the kingfisher on the fence, which is an adult kingfisher as well, sacred kingfisher, and you've really captured the essence of what these beautiful little animals are. The Kiwi bird, very unusual bird. It's one of the native birds of New Zealand, of course, and it's got the famed reputation of having an egg that's half the size of its body when it lays it. Yeah, but you did a fantastic job, you really did. And some of the other birds that you've got, the New Zealand falcon, which is a beautiful animal. I mean, your work is so well constructed. I mean, I think that any of the leading wildlife artists in the world would look at you and know that you're in the tops of your trade as well, without a doubt.
Okay, so from here, my next step would be to be putting the eye in, because the eye gives it the life. So I'll actually turn it upside down.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, okay, well that's a good point. Why are you turning it upside down?
Because it's so easy to get focused on all the detail that you turn it upside down, you can just focus on colours and shapes, and that makes it easier. Okay. You're not trying to make the whole picture look right.
Yeah, I suppose by turning it upside down, you're not looking at it as an eye, but you're looking at it as a shape.
Yeah, just colours and shapes.
Yep.
It just simplifies it, and it takes the pressure off. So I'm just putting my darkest darks in once again, first, and just basically mapping it out, just so I've got a bit of a guide.
Now the thing about varying animals' eyes is, particularly with sheep, they've got this long, drawn-out iris.
Yes.
You know, that's
quite
just
an unusual shape.
Yeah, that's just not a normal-looking eye, is it, by any means?
No, it does make it look hard. Well, it does make it hard trying to get it in, and also the light when it's hitting the eye. You've got to get that right too, because that gives the life of it. You take the eye out of the equation and there's no life in it, so it's such an important part to get that right.
Yeah, I know people hate to to say this, even artists, sort of how long does a painting take? I mean, how old are you is the length of the time, but you've got one over your right shoulder called Nesting Spotted Shags, and the amount of work in that is quite extraordinary. The question is, how long did it take you to paint that piece?
Many hours. That's a couple of months worth of work there.
I bet.
Yeah, there's so much detail in that, and while I'm using lots of layers, I've got to wait for the layers to dry in between. So yeah, it can be quite time consuming.
Plus it was done in oils as well.
Yes.
Which is even tougher under any circumstances.
Yeah, I use liquid a lot because it helps speed up the drying process.
Yep.
And also helps with layering and blending.
Yeah, but it's just really, really well executed without a doubt.
So I'm not being too precious at this stage. It's just simply getting colours in, just so I can find my way later. A lot will change to this. So as well as using the upside down method, we also use a mirror just to make sure that I'm getting the colours and shapes right. It changes your perspective, takes you away from what you're doing, and you see it in a different view. Okay, so I've just basically mapped in the eye colours and shapes, and from now I'll actually like to take to the next painting that I've done, the second stage, which has moved along a little, and can show you a bit more of the process. Okay, so as you can see from here, I've blocked in a little more of the colour, and I've also done the background a fairly neutral colour to make the animals stand out. So from now on, I just do these last few bits here and just basically get the whole canvas covered.
Go.
So I'm just starting by putting my darkest bits in it once again, so that I've sort of just mapping out where those lines will go, and then I can go in with a lighter colour alongside it and merge them together.
You've done a number of cows as well, and I think one that really stands out, which is a spectacular piece, there's a couple of them here, but these cow pieces are amazing. The Angus Bull, he looks like he's about to come straight through the painting at you. It's quite incredible. The other one is I'm Watching You, which is another big, I'm not quite sure what sort of bull it is, but
yeah, I think he's a crossbreed, that one.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's a big old boy, this.
Yes, he's a solid, very solid. I liked his impressiveness. He just had a stance about him. All right, so as you can see, there's not a lot of drawing here. So what I'm doing is just putting these dark areas and just drawing them in basically and working from there. I'm actually using a Princeton brush. I actually really enjoy using these because they hold the paint, they hold their shape, and they're a nice size. They're not too big and not too small. Yeah, so I use them especially for detail. I find the brush that probably my favourite is the liner, the tiny little brush that does the microscopic little hairs. That's really good.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that one later on when you go into the third piece, because this is really mapping down those base colours.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to see the beautiful rendering that Marie does with the detail in the last piece after this one. It's really amazing. So
I'm just constantly just blending, merging the colours together so that it's not a strict ridge of colour, a sharpness of colour, it's just blended together.
But there's been a lot of introduced animals brought into New Zealand, and you've got a picture here of a red stag, or they call them a royal stag in Britain.
I was able to go and photograph some stags in the raw, and that was such an experience. I don't know how I managed to get the photograph, because I'm sure he would have been able to hear my heart pounding, because I hear him making his noise coming down through the bush. It was just such an impressive sound. Yeah. So rather than working over the work I've already done, what I'll do is turn it upside down so I can focus on this bit without working over the top of my work.
So how often do you turn your pieces upside down?
All the time.
All the time?
I paint probably half of my paintings, or half of the time I spend is upside down, because I just find it's so easy to get caught up in all the detail. It just seems to work that you turn it up the right way and it works. So, and I'm just going back to putting in the shapes, the colours, just the little contours there and around where the wool is, and just leaving patches of that and taking some away. So I'm just dabbing it on really at this stage. It's just to cover it. I'm putting the next colour highlight So I've got my darkest dark and I'm putting a shade lighter, and then I'll put a shade lighter again alongside that next, just to give it that depth.
Yeah, but it's just really putting those base colours down.
Yeah, just getting
They
it
can come
coloured.
back later on.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd potentially wait till that dried.
Yeah,
anyway.
absolutely. Yeah, it is best to have it dried later, because that's when you can start putting the detail. Otherwise it just lifts off colour and you lose the underpainting. And I'm just going to turn the painting on the side now just to be able to paint the eye.
So it doesn't have to stay in the one place, you can turn it wherever you want it to go.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just once again blocking in the colour, not being too specific, just mapping it out really. And it's really important to leave the highlighted where the light's hitting the eye. I try not to make sure I get that muddied, because quite often it's such a light colour that you can't afford to have too much underpainting.
Yep. You've got a picture here of, it's of the rail family, and you call them wekas in New Zealand. As you can see the detail in the eye and the light and the dark, particularly on the beak.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic picture. But just obviously speaking of the dark and the light.
Yeah, and if you look in the eye, so many different colours. You know, you've got oranges and yellows, and there's so many different shades of things in there that make up that colour that gives it the life.
Well, as you can see, Marie has put the third piece up of the day, and there's obviously a lot more work done on it. But what are you going to show us on this particular piece, Marie?
Okay, so I'd like to just show you how I put the top layer of the fur in, and obviously around the nose and muzzle area, I'll work on that. But what I'll do to start with is turn it upside down again,
Okay.
and just to gauge where I need to start here. Yeah, so.
Give you a much better idea.
So I've just changed to a dagger brush, just to get that detail, and it's quite important to keep the brush to keep its shape. So I keep wiping it in between times just to keep retaining that shape.
And that's a Princeton brush as well?
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah, they're great for detail.
Yeah.
So I don't want the feathering to be too strong here, because obviously in the animal there's not a lot there. It just starts to get thicker as it comes down further. And the other important part is that, as you can see on this, the fur actually goes on a round shape, so it's really important to keep going on the shape where it would be on the animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps with making it believable. And just using liquin just to help guide the brush a little, and not to make the paint too strong there. And also really important to change the shape of the fur by, the fur is not going to be straight up and down. It's really important to make it as natural as you can, so you have bits going in all sorts of directions to make it real.
Yeah, using that fine brush that you've got, there's a piece that you painted of a white heron.
Yeah.
You can see the tail feathers, this really, really minute detail that you can get with a brush like that.
It was extremely hard to paint because being white,
Yeah.
and to be able to keep the depth in it without muddying the colours
Yep.
was a real challenge.
Yeah, white animals are always difficult to do. And they're not actually white, they just look it.
No, that's right. There's so many colours that make it up. Sometimes if I want to put a shadow in somewhere, once I've done these finer details, I quite often will use a wash, and use liquin and a transparent colour, and just change the hint slightly. If that was too light, I would just put a wash over that. So you're still keeping the detail and not losing the detail, but it's just changing it rather than changing any of the underpainting to get
just
that.
layers of transparent glazes.
Yeah.
That can create a lot of depth in the end.
So sometimes I just map out a runner just to show me as a bit of a guide as to where the hair needs to lie, and just make sure that I get the angle, and I just follow that, duplicate it. So sometimes when I'm working on it, it's a good idea to turn it up the right way and make sure that it actually does make sense.
Just keep spinning it around.
Yeah, most of the time it does, but sometimes it can go a little astray. But yeah, it's just double checking, and then once again using the mirror again to make sure that it is sitting where it's supposed to be.
And you can see that if you're looking in the paddock, the sheep looks white, but it's actually not. It's got blues and yellows and browns in it, and
that's right. It's
not too many pure white and pure black things.
So now I'm just starting to come down below the nose there and along the muzzle, and just once again trying to make sure I'm getting the right direction of it. And sometimes you have to wait till it's dried a little more before you can put the final details on. So that's the general look there. So I'll just go back up to the top. And
just sort of turn it around so you can follow the flow of the whisker or the fur.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier if you can do that. I mean, it's obviously difficult with big canvases, but if you can turn it around so that the line becomes a little easier for you, it's much better.
Oh, it just, rather than focusing on making the whole thing look right, just takes that pressure off really. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite a time-consuming process. So this will take some time to do that. As you can see, there's just lots of parts to it. So, but I'll turn it up so you can sort of see the general idea of how that works. So yeah.
That's fantastic, and because of the beauty of editing, we're screening up the final piece now, and as you can see, Marie has done an extraordinary job, and looks like the shoot can almost jump over the railing and come out of the picture. It's pretty amazing. But it's been an incredible day, Marie, and thank you so much for letting us into your studio and this beautiful gallery as well. It's quite exceptional.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, guys, live from Wanganui, we have had a great day. Marie, fantastic.
Thank you very much, Graham.
It was wonderful stuff. And as you can see by the many pictures that we showed throughout the show, Marie is an incredibly talented lady, and obviously a devotee of Ray Ching's, I would say. He's pretty amazing, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love his work.
But before we go, also, I mean, it's been fantastic being in Wanganui. The people have been great, but you really do have a pretty thriving arts community here as well, don't you?
We sure do. We have over 400 working artists, and Wanganui's there's something for everyone. There's so much to see, and it's definitely an arts destination worth a visit.
It's a beautiful town. I mean, it's a very old world heritage town. Just driving into Wanganui when we first got here, I just thought, God, look at this place, it's incredible. But there is a huge thriving arts community here as well. So I think if anybody is coming over from Australia or America, or even if you're living in New Zealand, come down to Wanganui and see what they're doing, because it's a really fantastic place with many talented people. Your website address?
mariegriceartist.co.nz.
Okay, mariegriceartist.co.nz. Come in and see Marie's work, very talented lady. If you get down this way, obviously look her up at the Fine Arts Wanganui Gallery, and come in and see us at colourandyourlife.com.au, and also on our Facebook page and YouTube as well. We have a thriving community ourselves, but thank you so much. It was fantastic.
Thank you,
we had a great time. And from Wanganui, as I always say, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye now. Bye.